You look like the type of guy that's not usually up at 8 either, so sorry about
that. It's no problem, man.
You are a morning person, Didi. I'm not at all. My body's still in shock. Roger, thanks very much for joining us. Didi and I have been chatting away all morning about the various topics to cover. I mean, there's obviously so much happening in the space. So, yeah, any thoughts around what you'd like to cover? We're not live, so we'll.
Yeah.
We want to.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to it, but right before I jumped on this call, I was reading the latest post over at Reddit, and somebody said, "What do we do like if the ABC camp backs down on the infrastructure funding proposal? Then what?" Because I think people will still be like not as trusting as they were before all this. So don't know. I'm happy to talk about whatever you guys want to cover in regards to this, but I don't have the crystal ball or the magic answers for this.
Okay,
So
I can't go on Reddit anymore. I got a lifetime ban from Bitcoin a few weeks ago. So I'm still trying to figure out why.
I'm talking about RBTC. I'm sure you haven't been banned from RBTC.
No, I haven't been banned from RBTC. So Roger, look, thanks very much for joining us. We probably don't need to do too much of an introduction as to who you are, but obviously it's fantastic to be the guy introducing you two to meet each other, as Didi is our man who's been traveling the world for a number of years, living only on Bitcoin and crypto. So I think maybe a great place to start is to hear a bit of your experience, Didi, and maybe find out from Roger what your thoughts about that vision of mass adoption of a global currency of peer-to-peer cash is. So yeah, maybe Didi, if you want to kick it off with your thoughts on this.
It's a pleasure for me to kick it off, but I don't want to take too much time, because I think Roger is the guy we need to give a big platform here, because he's the most experienced.
Go for it, Didi.
Sorry.
Go for it. The platform's
okay. So for me, it's just easy. I just only have one question to you, Roger, and I will build up the question like in a minute or two. So it's, for me, we are the Bitcoin family. I sold everything we had. We just started traveling and living on Bitcoin. I don't have bank accounts. I don't have an address. I don't have anything. We just travel the world purely on cryptocurrency. I started all this because of the revolutionary thought. I want to disrupt this monetary system. I want to bring back the power to the people. I want to give my nephew in the Moluccan Islands in Indonesia the possibility of spending digital currency with me, exchanging it, even buying stuff online. This is my goal in life. I'm educating and traveling the world to do this with my wife and 3 daughters already for 4 years, and we are succeeding in it. I'm living solely on cryptocurrency. I came to a point that I come into Slovenia, where I meet this beautiful company at Bitcoin City, Ellie, and they created this beautiful app that made it possible for me to live like fully on crypto if I would stay in Ljubljana. That for me was the proof it's possible. I could pay my groceries, I could pay my cinema, I could pay my sports, I could pay my iPhone, I could pay anything directly with this Ellie app and pay directly with my Bitcoin wallet. Of course, we as a family also have been bombed by all those credit card companies. I've been using Wirex, all the steps in betweens, But I'm 41 years old. I've seen life. I've had my businesses. I had my employees. And the thing I'm now experiencing in this cryptocurrency world is that we are making this huge shift from a we revolutionary mentality to an I accumulating wealth mentality in crypto. So we started to change the world, and now we are just copying what we came from, and we are happy that projects like Wirex onboard crypto so that we go back to the banking system again. So this is making me mad in my head, and I'm really thinking now we are at a point. It's not we are doing everything perfect. You are doing everything perfect and promoting Bitcoin. At the beginning, Bitcoin, now Bitcoin Cash, it's cryptocurrency in the whole. The marketing machine is running full power, but the people are not there. The mindset of the people is still led by fear and greed. My question is, for the next 10 years, how can you, I, and the other people that still are in it for the true fundamentals of cryptocurrency and the blockchain change this mindset again? What can we do?
Yeah, I wish I had the magic answer for you. I think all we can do is just be one improved unit for the world ourselves. So you and your life and me and my life, let's use cryptocurrency as money. And anytime we can avoid their traditional, powers that be that try to control and spy and monitor everyone, let's not use those systems. Let's use digital currencies to buy and sell things. And after I'm off the call with you here, actually, I'm gonna get my haircut here in Tokyo at a place that takes Bitcoin Cash. We're gonna film it and we're gonna put that on the world for people to see. And I think just use Bitcoin Cash or any cryptocurrency. Like I've never been a Bitcoin maximalist ever since the earliest days. I've been a whatever works the best for you in your life maximalist, whatever it is. And part of why I like digital currency so much is because I think they work better than the traditional banks and credit cards and traditional financial systems. And people just need to be able to know about digital currencies and realize that they have this alternative. And you're doing a great job of spreading that awareness around the world as well. So thank you for doing that.
You do need to give me the address because I need a haircut. Like really accept Bitcoin because it's growing, and I've been using this joke all the time. And I don't find a hairdresser that accepts Bitcoin. But
you'll have to stop by Tokyo next, and there's several places actually here in Tokyo. There's at least 3 that I know of off the top of my head that you can pay to get your haircut in Bitcoin Cash.
Well, they call Roger the Bitcoin Jesus, Didi, but with that haircut, it looks more like you, I think.
You're not the first one. Sorry, I can't walk on water. I just watched this Netflix show about this Jesus guy. No, I'm not the guy. No, I tried it yesterday. I'm too heavy.
Well, Roger, you raised an interesting point there. I mean, obviously, most people would sort of associate Bitcoin Cash with you, but can you maybe tell us a bit about what other projects you are involved in? I mean, I know you've been in crypto for the best part of 10 years now. You're an absolute innovator and a huge figure in this space. What are you currently up to, and what does the future hold for you, do you think, in this space?
Yeah, so what I'm currently up to is I'm trying to build all the tools and infrastructure to make Bitcoin Cash usable as cash for the world. But historically, I was in as early as 2012, Jen McCaleb, the original founder of Mt. Gox, came to me and because he saw what I was busy doing, promoting everything in this space, and said, Roger, I have an idea on how to make another version of Bitcoin, but it doesn't require mining. And so the transactions will be super fast, super reliable, and you don't have to worry about mining because mining uses a lot of electricity and he thinks that's wasteful. I said, okay, sure, let's give it a try. And so I actually put up the seed money to start Ripple. So right there from the earliest days, and you can find, old YouTube videos of me saying that I hope something better than Bitcoin comes along, because if something better than Bitcoin comes along, we all get to use it. The entire world's a better place. Just like I hope something better than my current iPhone comes along, because if a better iPhone comes along, great, I get to use that. And so the same is true of all these different cryptocurrencies out there. I hope even better ones come along, because then the entire world gets to benefit from it. Just like I hope, better cars and cell phones and computers and everything else in life. That's how humankind moves forward, is by having better things come out. And so I've never, ever, ever been a Bitcoin maximalist ever. And I think it's interesting. There's a bunch of these Bitcoin maximalists out there on the internet, especially on Twitter. They only hold one single coin. They only hold Bitcoin, and everything else is horrible. Whereas I own dozens and dozens of different coins, and I'm out there saying, hey, Bitcoin Cash has the best shot at bringing the most economic freedom to the world, while holding lots of different coins as well. So I think, if anything, I'm in a much more, a much stronger position to have a reliable opinion, because I hold a bunch of different cryptocurrencies. Whereas if somebody only has one single cryptocurrency and they're saying every other cryptocurrency is horrible, why would you believe that guy? Very clearly, he's just trying to increase the value of that one cryptocurrency that he has. Whereas if anything succeeds in the cryptocurrency space, I'll do just fine financially. And for me, that is the underlying goal. The main goal is let's build the tools to make people have 100% complete control of their own money and not need permission from politicians or banks. And that's why I've been doing this for 10 years, and that's why I'm going to continue to do this.
Roger, at the moment I'm about to go into the editing of a show called The Real Cryptos, where I'm trying to educate people on the basics of what Bitcoin is, what crypto is, what blockchains are. Didi's been very helpful as well in this series, where we came from a very high level in episode 1. Episode 2, I want to get a bit more into detail on the differences between the 3 main incarnations of Bitcoin, if that's the right way to describe things. Could you you know, obviously, I've followed the whole scaling debate very closely. You know, your debates with all the key people were fascinating. They were very measured. They were very intelligent. Where are we at now? What is for you? What is Bitcoin Cash? How is it different? What at its core? What's the difference between the other two incarnations of Bitcoin that people will know about?
I think the main difference is that Bitcoin Cash has fast, cheap, reliable transactions, and the BTC version of Bitcoin has slow, expensive, and unreliable transactions. And I've seen a lot of these Bitcoin maximalists get mad at me and say, you're a liar, that's not true, but it's absolutely objectively true. The goal with BTC is to have the blocks be full. If the blocks are full, that means there's a consistent backlog of transactions waiting to be included in the next block, which means the average confirmation time for transactions on BTC will be longer than on Bitcoin Cash, where all the transactions are always included in the very next block. It's just shocking to me that either people don't understand that, or they're willfully blind to that, or they're just plain intentionally lying about that. But I see some of these people, and then I explain it to them very clearly. Like, if you have a backlog of transactions, the average confirmation time is longer on BTC. And the one guy just replies, says, no, that was his rebuttals. No. It's,
what about, could you tell us a bit about the, you know, any sort of more philosophical view of what's happening in that project? Obviously, we've had a situation recently with the CEO of Dropbit being arrested and facing 30 years in federal prison over coin mixing. We've got Tone Vays having his unconfiscatable conference in Vegas today. We've got Craig Wright hitting the stage in a few hours in London at the BSV conference. I would sort of say that, you know, BSV are kind of positioning themselves as this government-friendly version of Bitcoin. Tone's obviously going down the route of, you know, it's an unconfiscatable asset. Could you talk us through, you know, how would I describe the difference in BCH and those sort of terms, you know, sort of transaction speed aside, etc. Is there a, you know, so let's take privacy, for example. What's the position with BCH?
BCH is made up of a whole bunch of people all over the world, so I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that there's one single position for BCH. But my own position with BCH and the Bitcoin.com wallet, that we have more than 10 million wallets have been created now with the Bitcoin.com wallet, and that's a big number. And we're busy building in privacy tools right there into the Bitcoin.com wallet, so all of our users will be able to have super private Bitcoin Cash transactions, and they'll have complete control over their own keys, and it'll be unconfiscatable, and you'll be able to use it as cash. So I feel like the BTC camp at this point, it's basically just a bunch of people speculating on the speculation of future speculators. And to me, that doesn't seem like a long-term good thing to speculate on. Whereas Bitcoin Cash, we're trying to make this into cash for the entire world. And the BSV guys, I don't know, I kind of stopped paying a lot of attention there. Making your crypto government friendly kind of feels like you missed the whole point.
Could you tell us a bit about that functionality in the wallet? Is it something that potentially will sort of bump up against, you know, a government's perceived, well, you know, if we look at what's just happened with the guy from Dropbit, you know, what is that functionality as far as sort of privacy goes?
Yeah, so I didn't have a chance to read super deep into the arrest of the Dropbit CEO, but from what I can tell, like, he was running a mixing service where he had custody of all the user funds. In the system that we're designing, the users will never have to trust anybody else to take custody of their funds, to do the privacy tool. The users will only have custody of their funds the entire time. And so that's a fundamental difference. Like, I don't think that the guy should be tossed in jail for running a privacy tool. Like, I think privacy is a fundamental human right. I hear all these politicians around the world talking about, oh, we're going to pass, you know, crypto law and crypto's, you know, licenses for this and laws for that. And if they're going to pass any law at all about crypto, I think maybe the correct wording of the law should just be adopted from the United States, you know, Second Amendment. That's the right of the people to keep and bear cryptocurrencies shall not be infringed, and just leave it at that and let people do what they want with their own crypto. I think that would be one of the very few laws that maybe I could get behind and support to some extent. So, and at the end of the day, we'll figure out which one of these three versions will be the most popular around the world. But I'm pretty confident that it's the peer-to-peer electronic cash version, not the speculating on future speculators, or not the let's appease everything the politicians ask us to do version. So. Yeah,
it seems to be, and maybe Didi, you could sort of comment on this. I mean, that's something that I'm kind of seeing from the BTC camp a wee bit at the moment. I do wonder whether there is somewhat of a division there. When you've got a guy like Matt Corello turning around and saying, unless people really get behind and support this guy in the coming court case, the guy from Dropbit I'm talking about, I forget his name, that could spell the end. And they were his exact words, where that could spell the end for BTC, at least is how he sees it. Whereas I also see other people now that maybe are, as you say, Roger, it has become just a speculative asset. Where is that particularly interesting to me? No, it's not really. It's not why I got into the space. Didi, do you want to sort of pick it up from here and maybe have a bit of a chat about what your thoughts on that are?
For me, it's different, Sean. We were a family that just wanted to change life, like many families in the world that wanted to change life. We wanted to change life out of luxury because we were too luxury, and we wanted to live a more simple life to educate our kids that it's not all about accumulating wealth, but it's also about living life. And I think if you look at this, there are many people in the world that would love to change life, and we use these beautiful tools of blockchain and Bitcoin to change life. And yes, in that way, it's a speculative asset. But for me, the end goal is still to make it possible for everybody just to exchange a digital form of cash all over the world without fees, without being able to be confiscated and everything. I saw what happened in Greece and Cyprus and all that stuff, and that must never happen again. We must have the fundamental right of our own currency. That doesn't, that doesn't make me hate other people for treating it as an asset or trading it as an asset, because that's their circle of life. They are now in the life circle of accumulating wealth. And if they use Bitcoin for it, go for it, because it creates transactions, which makes the network for me and supports the network a little bit more, like the miners and everything. So that's a cool way of looking at it. For me, it's not Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, BSV, or whatever other currency. If it's Verge, if it's, whatever currency works really hard for mass adoption, is good for me. If I travel to Bangkok and I can use Dash in Bangkok, I will use Dash in Bangkok. And if in Holland they want to accept Verge, I will pay with my Verge. But for me, it's the game of not touching this banking system anymore. And that's becoming more easy every day. So for me, we are already there. We are succeeding, but now we need to reach that mass, the mass media, the mass amount of people to educate them. And how easy is it? Yeah, I cannot spend my Bitcoins directly everywhere, but I can buy coupons online, which I can spend everywhere. I can book my flights, I can book my hotels, I can buy a Carrefour coupon and spend my crypto over there. There are so many possibilities, and that is being neglected by the mass media, because they just focus on how you can become a millionaire. Because that is how, in the 90s, we are all, educated into become those wealth accumulating people, because that would be leading to happiness. Big house, few cars, few $1 million on your bank account. That's the end goal of life. Then you're happy. I just experienced that it's not the end of goal. That's nothing. That there's nothing to do in life. Living and helping, and sharing. That makes me happy. So I'm in it for maybe a different game. So, but that's why I think we as crypto community need to come back together, all fight this beautiful revolution, and all together support in creating something, whatever name it might have, that will set us free from the suppression of those that we don't want to be suppressed by. And that's why they call me sometimes a Bitcoin maximalist. Yeah, because we chose the name the Bitcoin family. The name exactly says what I want. I want the Bitcoin be a family, whatever Bitcoin it is. We need to be a family, one huge Bitcoin family. And if we use Bitcoin Cash for cash, it's okay. If we use Bitcoin Core as a store of value, it's okay. If we use Bitcoin Gold for the new Bitcoin Gold, the Bitcoin private, I don't care. We need to create a mentality that we are in this together. We have been suppressed by the huge forces because we are being made dependent on wealth.
Yeah.
And that's the tool of blockchain and Bitcoin. And that's what we are going to get back if we just work together instead of fighting and throwing mud at that. And just respect everybody and every project for what they try. If there is a project trying to decentralize the real estate business, amazing. There will be 1 million people over the world that love real estate and that will get into crypto because of that real estate project.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's a really good point, and I probably didn't phrase that particularly well with my statement before. I mean, obviously everyone likes to see the value of these things go up, myself included. Roger, where is your thinking, and has it changed in the last few years? I mean, can we have these three different Bitcoins serving, as Didi has said, doing quite different things? Can they coexist? Do you think the mudslinging and infighting will sort of dissipate, and we can all move on with what different visions of Bitcoin are? I mean, obviously, we're always going to have that issue of effectively using the name for marketing purposes. What are your thoughts around that? Have they changed in the last few years?
Yeah, I think we already know the answer to that, right? Of course they can coexist. There's thousands of cryptocurrencies right now today. Yeah, there's Coca-Cola and Pepsi and RC Cola and a bunch of other types of colas out there, right? There's a bunch of different types of teas. There's Snickers and Butterfinger and Baby Ruth and like all these different things. So of course they can coexist, and they will on the market, and the people decide which one is the most.
I'm probably talking more specifically about the three main Bitcoins, and obviously the rhetoric from the different camps has been around the fact that this is the real Bitcoin, and that still to a large degree it exists now. But if we're just talking Bitcoin, I know you've been very outspoken in the past. Obviously, you've got the main name in the space with Bitcoin.com. From my point of view, putting the series out, how do you think I should go about explaining to people that we have got these three Bitcoins? Should there be an attempt to say, to say, well, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say I think this is the real Bitcoin. I'm just trying to present the facts of how we have got to this point. How would you describe to somebody new what the three Bitcoins are, and is it your position that Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin?
I think there's three flavors of Bitcoin at this point. But if you read the very title of the white papers, it's supposed to be a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And cash to me means that you can send and receive it with anyone, and nobody can stop you from sending and receiving it. And that's not the goal of the BTC version of Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin SV version of Bitcoin doesn't seem to have that be the goal either. They want it to be, government compliant with everything, which I assume means the next step is they'll want governments to be able to freeze people's accounts or seize their coins or do who knows what. Whereas the Bitcoin Cash camp, we want this to work like cash for everybody in the world, every planet, and every color and every age. To me, that's the one that seems the most closely aligned with the version of Bitcoin that was described in the white paper, and the version of Bitcoin that made me so excited almost 10 years ago. It wasn't some speculative asset, and it wasn't some government compliance something or other. I got into this because I want to put people in charge of their own lives and not have to need permission from politicians. And so if you go back and watch some of these early videos of me on YouTube from 2011, 12, 13, describing Bitcoin, the version of Bitcoin I'm describing there is very clearly Bitcoin Cash. It's not the BTC version or the BSV version of Bitcoin. So from my perspective, Bitcoin Cash most closely resembles the original mission statement for Bitcoin as described in the white paper, but that doesn't mean that ETC and BSV don't have some Bitcoinness about them as well. BTC clearly has the most hash rate, and the most people around the world are calling it Bitcoin, but I think they're mistaken on that front, because if it's not trying to be your peer-to-peer electronic cash system, I think its claim to the word Bitcoin is very, very weak.
Okay. Didi, would you like to comment?
I can't comment on this because, what I said, you go through a learning curve and a learning cycle. I stepped into it because of Bitcoin, because I started mining Bitcoin in 2013, but I also started mining Dogecoins in 2014. It's for me, I just mined what was profitable at that time, because at that time I wanted to make millions, and that was at a young age. And now I cannot say I can't agree with Roger. I want to spend, I want to live with currency and cryptocurrency. I want it to be private. I want it to be fast, and I want it to be unconfiscatable. So if that is Bitcoin Cash at the moment, I will use Bitcoin Cash. And if it is Bitcoin, I will use Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin is a beautiful tool for me to be store of value instead of the physical, like old-fashioned gold, I will use Bitcoin as the store of value, and I will use Bitcoin Cash to transact. The only thing I can say is that as a family, we took a big jump, and we are doing 24/7 everything to support this, this evolution. Let's call it not a revolution because most people will be offended. This evolution of technology. But if I look at the marketing wise way, there is not much love coming back from the Bitcoin camp. The most love I'm receiving is from what other people refer as the shit coins, which I won't call them, but they tell me, hey, Didi, man, you're doing such a beautiful job. Can we help you? You're educating NGOs. You're giving away every profit you make. We even gave away 30% of the bull run to NGOs. So can we help you? Yeah, let's Litecoin, Verge, all of them. Didi, please. And now I'm into this phase of life, and I'm like, wow, I've given away 4 years of my life, my wife's life, my 3 daughters' lives to support this evolution. But where is the point that you get the love back that you feel you deserve? Of course, I'm doing it because I love it. But it's always fine and nice if there is somebody that tells you, hey, wow, you're doing a great job. I will help you. And I think that is where Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Verge, Litecoin, all those currencies, Dash, are winning now. Because they can give you that. Because it's, there are people in there that can distribute the coins to support this evolution of this technology.
Roger, I think you need to put the Bitcoin Cash family on the back of this T-shirt and sponsor it.
Nah.
I think what Didi said is exactly right, though, is people are going to use whatever is useful to them. If something's useful, they're going to use it. And that's exactly how things should work in the world. So if Verge is useful, great, use it. If it's Dash, great. If it's Bitcoin Cash, great. If it's something else, great. People are going to use whatever is useful to them in their own lives. And that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. And it is very, very much a marketing exercise now, in my opinion. I mean, Roger, you're, and it's obviously, the tragedy of the commons, sort of, Didi, supporting something that effectively, it's decentralized and can't sort of reward you or pay you back. And I've had the same problem, Roger. You're one of the few people in this space that, put your money where your mouth was way back in 2012, where you were, generically promoting Bitcoin, not a business, associated with it. And, I applaud that. It shocked me, my years in the space to see the lack of coordination around, a focused marketing effort. What do we think are ways to really help grow some mass adoption here? What are our ideas? How do we help move this forward?
I think we have to build the tools that are actually useful for people so they want to use them. One of my favorite examples is a website called curse.io, where you can save 20% on every single purchase from Amazon by using Bitcoin Cash. And that's a huge, huge, huge savings. And then we're also seeing more and more people around the world start to use our local.bitcoin.com platform for sending and receiving money. Australia is one of the bigger markets. So China is number 1, Euro is number 2, and the dollar is number 3, and then the Australian dollar is number 4 on that market. So it's interesting seeing people using that. And I'm sure the reason they're using it is because it's useful to them. So the more useful things that we can build with this cryptocurrency infrastructure, the more people will start using it. Because if something's not useful, no one's going to use it. So let's build useful tools.
Yeah, I think, and on top of the useful tools, we need to simplify just using those tools, because many tools we are creating now are just not simple enough for people to understand, for normal people to understand, for my grandma to understand. Yeah, that's all the basic stuff we can repeat time after time. And
Roger, what's happening at Bitcoin Cash at the moment? I see you've had some pretty big developments in tokenization on the platform. Maybe give us a bit of a rundown of that.
Yeah, so we just maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago now, we launched mint.bitcoin.com. Makes it so easy for anyone to make their own token on top of Bitcoin Cash. The whole, from start to finish, the entire process can be done in maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and you can have your own token and then be able to send and receive that token with anyone anywhere in the world instantly, basically for free. And that's a really, really big deal, and much, much easier than any of these other token platforms that I'm aware of currently. So that's the good side. The bad side is at the moment there's a lot of arguing within Bitcoin Cash as to what to do with a portion of the block reward and to fund particular developers. And so people are busy arguing about that. My point of view is that if something isn't broken, don't fix it. And Bitcoin Cash has been working really, really well, and it has, I think, probably at the very worst, it's the second most passionate community. It might even be the most passionate community in the entire space. And that's fantastic, right? So like if things aren't broken, don't fix them. And I kind of worry that that's what people are advocating doing is changing the magic formula that we know works for one that might work or might not work. We don't know. So
what I'm just sort of getting up to speed on what's happening there at very sort of simplistic terms. Could you maybe just put a bit more information
sure,
out there?
more detail. So there's this thing called the Infrastructure Funding Plan, IFP for short. And basically what some people want to do is divert part of the block reward on the Bitcoin Cash network to pay for developers to work on the protocol and other various projects that are selected without clear or reasonable criteria. And so that's a big, big change because traditionally 100% of all the block rewards go to the miners. And that's how it's always been since the very, very beginning of Bitcoin with all three flavors of Bitcoin. And so changing that seems to be a really, really big change. And maybe a really, really big change is a good idea, but I think there needs to be lots of discussion and thought and consideration before making a really big change. I don't think there's been enough thought and consideration or discussion about it in order to force through a change like that at the moment. But some people seem to be ready to move ahead whether or not there's consensus within the community. And I think that it's a bit hasty.
Okay. One other thing I just wanted to, I listened to so much of your content, and you were so central to the, to the block size debate. Obviously, we've had BSV that have had their protocol upgrade. They call it the Genesis upgrade, where they've effectively going through a process of removing the block cap. What has kind of surprised me a wee bit is it's almost sort of seems to have gone under the radar from a discussion point of view, amongst the communities. After listening to, 3 years of really intense, quite measured debate with yourself and, the key guys from the various mining pools and so forth, throwing a bit of tone days along the way. This sort of surprised me that there hasn't been a raging debate around this after it being such a huge topic. Have you got any comment on what's happening in that camp, on that front? Or are you sort of out of sight, out of mind now with those guys? What do you think?
Yeah, and they're not, I wish I could say they were out of sight, out of mind, but they're busy suing me and suing every other, a bunch of open source software developers and suing anybody and everybody and claiming they want to use the state to not just shut down Bitcoin Cash, but every other blockchain. And to me, like, I can't get behind that. Of course I can't get behind that. So I wish they were out of sight, out of mind. But some of the other stuff they say and they do, I like. If someone's paying a fee on the network, then it's not a spam transaction. People can do it. Like, I think they're right about certain things. But this whole patent thing and then busy suing everybody over everything, like, that's not for me. That's not the type of world that I want to live in.
Were you and Craig Wright ever on good terms together?
Yeah, and Craig's a really difficult's not the right word, but like he's just a really idiosyncratic person, and he's not a warm, kind, friendly guy. Like, hey, let's go out, let's hang out this Friday night and go have a beer and dinner together. Like he's not that type of guy. He's super, super, super smart guy and really knowledgeable about lots of things. But then he pretends to be knowledgeable about things that he doesn't know anything about as well, which is strange. And so I don't know. We've never been drinking buddies or anything like that. But I've met him, maybe 10 times or something over the last, however many years.
Well, I know he likes to drink, Roger, and I don't think you drink at all, do you? So I'm not surprised you're not drinking buddies.
But I have friends who drink, and I'll go out to dinner with them and hang out with them as well. But no, I think Craig likes to drink a lot, and I don't really drink at all. So that is a big difference. But, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a connection made there. No.
Calvin Ayre, on the other hand, is a is really fun in person. He's a fun guy, and but it's really disappointing. He's actually the main guy driving all the lawsuits, not Craig so much. So it's really disappointing to see that. And for somebody who literally used to be on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, and now he's out there saying we need to be compliant to government, everything, and this and that. Like, what a 180-degree change. And it seems really strange to me that someone who used to be on the FBI's 10 most wanted list is now out there preaching to the world about how they want to build a blockchain that's government compliant. It's like, I think he's missed the whole point, or somehow somebody's convinced him to say something he doesn't honestly believe. And I don't know what the reasoning for that is.
Okay.
They're just trying to centralize the decentralization again. So that's not my goal. That's, oh yeah, cool. I never met the people, so I can't judge their how they are with the drinking. So I need to work some harder so I can have some drinks with them.
So any other projects outside of Bitcoin Cash you want to let us know about at the moment, Roger?
One more project inside of Bitcoin Cash that I think Didi would really like is we have our Bitcoin Cash Register app. It makes it so easy for any physical business to start accepting Bitcoin Cash in like 30 seconds. And you don't have to worry about the employee, running away with the Bitcoin Cash or screwing up or losing the money or anything like that. It's a really fantastic app to start accepting Bitcoin Cash. It's just called the Bitcoin Cash Register app. And as for projects outside of Bitcoin Cash, man, the Ethereum guys are just doing an amazing job with all sorts of things. And I went to DEF CON in Osaka a few months ago. It was just amazing how many passionate, smart people were there, busy building on top of Ethereum. So I really have a lot of respect for the Ethereum community and the useful tools that they're trying to build. Where I think Ethereum is lacking is they need some more, business developers. They have lots of software developers. They don't have quite enough business developers to help roll that out to the world. And if I wasn't busy with Bitcoin Cash, I probably would be busy with Ethereum or maybe Dash. I like Dash as well because it's trying to be digital cash, which for me that was the entire point of Bitcoin from day one, to be digital cash.
So if I understand right, for you the core thing in Bitcoin is to become peer-to-peer cash. And as I experienced it in Bitcoin, I just experienced this in 2 cities in the world, Slovenia, Ljubljana, and in Rovereto, Italy, where this is really possible, where I can spend my Bitcoin directly at a butcher or a grocery store or whatever, toy store.
Come to Tokyo, you'll be able to do it here as well.
I would love to visit you in Tokyo. We are now in Thailand enjoying some quiet time because last year was a really busy year for the family, and the wife and the kids were like, wow, can we please stay down for 2 months at the beach now and have some fun. So that's what I'm doing now. But yeah, I'm being slowly drawn into this scene again because I'm speaking in Singapore, speaking in Milan. I think they
actually on that note, Roger, I want to I'll email you the prospectus. There's a conference here in Singapore at the end of May, which I think would like to invite you down for that. So I'll shoot that off. Didi's actually speaking at it. I think it's quite an interesting one. There's a lot of government representatives coming along to actually have a look at what is happening in the blockchain space. So,
Sean, that event. I told them, I always appear in my shorts, flip-flops, and my t-shirt. And they were like, oh, but you can't appear like that. There are a lot of government attendees. So I told them I won't, but I think I will.
Show up in your flip-flops, Didi.
I think I will. Even
you be you.
Show up my Bitcoin flip-flops there.
So, Roger, you live in Tokyo, but where have you been recently? I saw a picture of you in St. Kitts.
Yep, I was in St. Kitts recently as well. That's where my nationality is, and I have a place there as well. Okay. And I really enjoyed my time in St. Kitts as well. And both places are good. Very, very different between Tokyo and St. Kitts, but I split my time between those 2 places the most.
Right.
Can I ask you one more question, Roger?
Sure.
Like, we have all those people that got into Bitcoin really early, they became those huge Bitcoin millionaires. But there was a point, like in the last few years, that those people really gone silent now, they are not like interfering this industry anymore. So they started with this thought of, okay, we're going to change the world. Then they became Bitcoins, and then they left that thought, we're going to change the world. I'm just going to sip, my bottle of water or Bacardi Coke all day. Do you experience this as well? Is this your?
No, I think most of the early Bitcoiners that were so excited about this peer-to-peer cash for the world, most of them went to Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash, and they're busy on those two projects, right? And a few of them went to Dash or maybe some other projects out there, but most of them are on Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash today. They're not in BTC anymore because it just became the thing where people are speculating on the speculation of future speculators, and that's not a world-changing invention. That's a Ponzi scheme. So.
Okay, that was clear. Shit. John, now he is slowly changing my mind.
Yeah.
Keeping an open mind is important. That's how we learn, right? We have to keep our minds open. So.
I always have an open mind, and I deeply respect what you did for the industry. So, and I deeply, of course, I've been looking into Bitcoin Cash and all other currencies. That's why I'm using them all, and that's why I visited Ljubljana, because I know you're interested in that one as well.
Yeah.
It's just you get a label, and that label, I don't care what they label me. I am always outside of the box, and I'm always thinking outside the box. I'm living life, and I'm showing my kids that living life is more important than Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin is all other currencies. It's about living life and showing and leading by example. I lead by example to show my kids, and you and I lead by example in this industry to show people that you really can live on cryptocurrency. And I think that's the only thing I need to do, and then I'm happy. And sometimes I get some support, and sometimes, no. But I'm still drinking.
Not.
I'm still drinking my Bacardi Coke. I do drink. So if the B on my arm ever, if Bitcoin doesn't succeed,
It's Bacardi.
It's Bacardi. It's Bacardi, or it's big boobs, or it's whatever. I don't even care.
All of the great things in life start with B.
All
That's right.
with a B.
Roger, maybe one last question for you. You're a passionate businessman, but what's really driving you to stay in the space now? I mean, I would probably go as far as to say I doubt you sort of need the money, but what's really motivating you? You take a hell of a lot of flack. You've obviously got a thick skin. What is it? What's keeping you here?
Yeah, what's keeping me here is I want to live in a better world, right? Because I'm living in this world with everybody else, and the best way we can make this world a better place for everyone is through more economic freedom. And more economic freedom leads to more economic growth, and more economic growth leads to a higher standard of living for everybody, which means, cooler iPhones and, space airplanes and traveling to other planets and all sorts of amazing stuff. And I want to be able to, live in a world that has that amazing stuff. And so, cryptocurrencies and the economic freedom that they bring, plus, AI, those are the two best tools that we have to enable this, better world for everybody. So that's why I'm here, because I'm living in the world with all the rest of us.
And listen, hats off to you. You've been a real trailblazer in this space, and I hope you continue to do that. It's, as I say, you've obviously got a very thick skin. I think you get a hard time, which is extremely unwarranted from certain people in the space. It is pretty toxic at the moment, but I think hopefully we will reach a point where that gets put aside and we get back on track. Didi, have you got any closing comments for us?
No, I think that was a very beautiful closure of what Roger said. We need to create a world where everything is more beautiful, but we also need to understand, and that's what I find very important, that we need to change that mindset of human beings, is that it took 13.8 billion years, to see what you're seeing right now. I'm seeing trees and all the beautiful seas, but it took 13.8 billion years of the stars to create this environment that I can live. It took 13.8 billion years to create Bitcoin on whatever currency there will be in the future. So people need to see the brilliance of that. Just accept it. It's there. Use it. It's not there because it's going to create war. It's there to create freedom. And I think that's the main goal that everybody is running after: freedom. Freedom in any kind of way. Freedom in any kind of the world. I mean, that's my goal as well. Freedom. Freedom in decision making, freedom in spending currency, freedom in choose, freedom in everything. And that's I think that's the main goal. And these tools we are being given now, you just use them. You use the blockchain, you use the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Litecoin, Verge. Use them and get that freedom back. So that's I don't have to add more, I think. It was a pleasure being on the show, and it was a pleasure to be together here with Roger, and I will see Roger probably in Milan or Singapore, and we will have a bottle of water together with some fresh fruits in it. So we make it a little bit tropical.
Fantastic. I look forward to that, Didi. Thank you.
Yeah, listen, guys, thank you so much for your time. Roger, absolute pleasure to speak to you for the first time, and maybe we see you here in Singapore in the coming months. So I'll shoot off
Send
some
me the
information.
details.
Yeah, I will. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll send that off to you now. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye now.